All right. You ready to get
All
this
right.
started?
Yep. Do you need me to? I can host this week unless you were really feeling it.
It's up to you, man. If you want to do it,
I
you
just
can.
feel bad you've done the last three because you're so. I personally think you're really good at it. I don't know how good I am. I always judge myself probably harsher than what everybody else thinks, but it doesn't matter to me. I figure it's my turn unless you felt strongly about it.
I don't feel very strongly about it.
All right. Oh. Oh, now I instantly got the jitters. It's my first my first episode I'm hosting in
Right. See
2022.
that's why I do the thing like at the very beginning where I just wig out and just get the jitters out, take a big drink of water, just shake it off.
And cough.
Yep, cough.
Oh, all right. Here we go. I don't know why I'm so nervous. It's fucking stupid. All right. I've done this before, but I think the break has done it to me. Now I've gotten in my head. Anyways. Hello and welcome.
Now you're just thinking about it too much. All right, I'll shut
That's why
up.
I was just going to jump into it.
All right, I'll shut up.
Hello and welcome to the Hello and welcome to the Campfire Gaming Podcast. My name is Matt. Thanks for joining me today, tonight, yesterday, this morning. I don't know. Whenever you're listening to this, who cares? Anyways, we're happy you're here listening to our podcast. Joining me tonight is Rich. How are you doing, Rich?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. I'm ready to talk about some stuff. We got some game related stuff to talk about, as is our podcast.
We do? Oh yeah, I guess we do have to talk about games.
Yep.
Yeah. No, we got a action packed episode here today. We have some big news out of Sony. Some big news.
Mm-hmm. Sony with the clap back.
Yep. And a little bit more. It's been about 2 weeks since Microsoft dropped the bomb of acquiring Activision. So we got some kind of just more information, some more that developed out of that situation, and we're gonna touch on that today, as well as some good Blizzard news, some good Star Wars news, hopefully, and maybe some game cancellations.
with a little sprinkle of poor salty game cancellations.
Yep. But anyways, before we dive in, we would love it if you would go check out our website at campfiregamingpodcast.com. There you can find links to all of our social media sites, places like Twitter. Come say hi, come like and follow and comment on all our wonderful tweets. Our handle there is Camp Game Pod. But yeah, you can also find links to our Discord at our website. Come say hi. We have wonderful conversations throughout the week with all our wonderful listeners and followers, and we'd love it if you would join as well.
Please do.
Yeah, it's always a good time. It's always a good time.
Always a good time.
But on that note, let's get into the big Sony news. So Microsoft's been firing shots left and right. I guess left and right. One Bethesda and then one Activision, Blizzard, King Games. So, they've been just sucking up all these game studios for the last, year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, to be fair, the Activision thing hasn't gone through yet. But everybody's been wondering, what is Sony going to do? Who knows?
Well, we know that at off the cuff, I mean, Sony was actually pretty taken back by that Activision Blizzard acquisition from Microsoft. Even I think I know that, I mean, the stock market's not really a good measure of what the reactions to things are, but that announcement alone did have an impact on their stock price.
Yeah.
Right. I think just in general, Sony was kind of like, wow, okay, shit. we have to do something.
I think most of the gaming community, regardless of what you play on, was pretty surprised by that news.
Absolutely.
It was big news, especially with how much money it cost them. The fact that Activision Blizzard had been sailing on quite the rough seas the last few years. And then with how many studios and franchises and IPs that are under Activision. So,
Yep.
Although not quite as big of a splash as Activision, it's still big news. But Sony, as of recording yesterday, it'll be about 5 days old probably by the time you listen to this. They acquired Bungie,
Mhm.
which left me actually more confused after reading up on it.
Yeah, because like, this is what I was gonna be this is why I was excited for this episode, mainly because I wanted to get your I really wanted to get your take on how you felt about, Bungie getting acquired by Sony. Like, did you think it kind of made sense, or do you think this is gonna be a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, Bungie hasn't necessarily had the best of luck with, being underneath somebody else's umbrella as of late. I mean, funny enough, I mean, they just left Activision Blizzard to,
Hmm.
you know, be
Well,
independent.
they weren't ever owned by Apple, but I know back in their late '90s they were pretty buddy buddy with Apple. That's where they were releasing games like Marathon, and they
Yep,
were originally going to release Halo, and then
right.
Microsoft came in and bought them, and then they were going to put this weird new game they were making. I think it was Monkey Nuts, no, Halo, onto this weird console called the Xbox, and apparently that paid off for them. But
Right.
um, they left Microsoft, and then yeah, pretty much a few years later, hopped into bed with Activision. Although Activision never owned them, I believe it was just this partnership where they were just getting a lot of. They were going to be the publisher of Destiny and rake in all the money there.
Right.
And then, as to no one's surprise, it didn't really work out great for them, and they left. Was it 2018? I think it
Yeah,
was.
it was a few years ago now, and I mean, people they were talking about how, everybody in the company was celebrating the day that they got to break away from Activision Blizzard. They were
Yeah.
popping champagne, having a good old party and all that.
And now they're, and this is the weird thing is they want to stay independent. They've also we talked about this, I think it was last year. They're moving into the realm of publishing as well, and other media. It's not just games. So they're trying to kind of build up, which was odd when I was reading through and really kind of digging into like the Sony blog that went out on this, and in the Bungie one is they it's Sony acquired them for 3.6 billion dollars, but this is where I got a little confused confused on their relationship is Bungie's. They even say they're basically remaining independent. They're still publishing all of their games wherever they want.
Mhm.
It's almost like it's just going to be this. My feeling is it's going to just be a relationship where they exchange. I guess Sony gives them money, and Bungie's going to give them kind of services in the sense of, again, obviously cash flow from Sony so they can build bigger, better worlds or support better and all that. But from what I was reading, it sounds like Sony really wants their services on how they've built up a live service game, in this case, Destiny, for 8 years, and all the experience and all the pros and cons, the successes and the failures. It almost makes it sound like Sony probably either has a few studios or some ideas for games that are in development or going to be developed that are going to be live service, and they really wanted somebody that knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of, again, that's where I'm a little kind of confused. Especially Bungie put out a FAQ at some point yesterday. They literally said, they are not going PlayStation exclusive. Their games are where people play them on, which could be Xbox, could be Switch, could be PC. So yeah, that's
Could be Game
kind of
Pass.
yeah, could be. That was the other theory is Destiny 2 Beyond Light was on Game Pass for, I think, the past roughly year. I think it left in the last month or two. It's not on Game Pass anymore, I believe. Um, the thought here, now I read this was not in any sort of blog or anything. This was kind of people kind of coming up with, how else is Sony going to benefit, especially if Bungie's going to essentially remain independent. Um, and they were thinking maybe the rumored PlayStation Game Pass, that this is going to lock up
Oh.
a really core game with a large audience, and that's going to be like, one of their big, obviously they're going to have their great IPs that they have, but this is just another IP that they're going to be able to have day one. You're going to have all the Destiny, on PlayStation Pass, it's going to be great, and all that fun stuff. So that was a theory I saw floating around the internet, and that kind of makes sense too.
Yeah, no, I mean, so in some cases this does make a lot of sense that they would go after them for these reasons, like for the big reason that they're going to be um a wider reaching company. I mean, that's I think why
Yeah.
they I mean, that's why they have their eyes set specifically on Bungie's, because Bungie is looking to expand out even just beyond games, doing, like you said, publishing, all that stuff. I think with that sort of expansion, I think what is good for Bungie there is that they're going to start tackling um in the same vein of what Game Pass is doing. Okay, let me kind of rephrase this. So Game Pass, what it's really great for is kind of getting injected into everybody's systems, basically. Like
Hmm.
all you have to do is just get Game Pass, and once you have Game Pass or the cloud, Xbox Cloud or whatever, you can really just play anywhere, and it's, you don't necessarily need to be tied to the console war anymore. You can break free of that. And we
Hmm.
talked about this a little bit in the past, where really it's now becoming like an arms race of who can have the best platform now, like who's got the best services, and how can they distribute their games to the most amount of audience possible. So I think with Bungie probably wanting to go in that direction. They talk about how they want to keep their games cross-platform. They want to try and get this as wide of a breadth of gamers as possible that they can get their games into their hands. That makes a lot of sense that Sony would want to partner with them for that reason. The thing that I think is really suspicious, though, and I think Chris was the one that mentioned this when we were chatting about it in Discord a bit, is that this almost seems too conveniently timed to be a response to Activision, or to the Activision Blizzard acquisition.
Yeah.
This has probably been in the works for some time now, probably well before PlayStation even knew about what Microsoft was doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they're kind of spinning it as though it's like, oh yeah, like, Microsoft gets this, but we got this instead, kind of a thing.
I felt the I agree. This is something that's been in the works for months. This isn't a retaliation, you could say, for
Right.
Activision, right? Um, I kind of feel like the wider news media is trying to make it that because it's more exciting, right?
Right. Yeah.
Clickbait. Right?
It seems like a clapback, but really it's not really a clapback unless for some reason Sony knew that this deal was going down, and Microsoft just kind of beat them to the news, basically.
Hmm.
They got to get their announcement out first.
Yeah, and I think this was, talk about Discord. I think this was Mike in the Discord saying, if anything, this is more retaliation for Bethesda. Again, I'm sure there's intercompany, spies and information gets back and forth. So there was probably rumors over at Sony about the Activision acquisition, but
Mhm.
um, again, I don't think this is any sort of retaliation. In all fairness, Microsoft has been making big news with I'd say the bigger purchases of ZeniMax and Activision, but Sony's acquired people the last couple years as well. They're just more kind of like, well, kind of like now individual studios that don't have, they're not publishers, right?
Right.
Because they picked up Insomniac Games the other year because they were kind of like a what do we call a double A developer? They were essentially were Sony, but never actually owned by Sony.
Right.
And they picked up Quantic Dreams was the other one, right? Again, another one of those that I think for the most part, except for maybe old PC days, they really released their games. I think only on PlayStation, but
Mhm.
you know,
And I think
so
because Microsoft definitely beat them to this sort of gaming as a service type of model, um, has really been a dictator on what PlayStation has been, or Sony at least has been deciding to do with their products moving forward. I mean, we've talked, endlessly about how PlayStation is now, or Sony is now moving a lot of like their titles to PC now. You
hmm
can play a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of their catalog is now on, Steam and all that. You were just talking, I think either last week or 2 weeks ago about, you should go play God of War. Like you
yeah.
just go play it because you can play it on PC. Why not? So we're really kind of getting just like the shots have now been fired at each other, so that the platform wars have begun, so to speak.
I what are your thoughts on? I think we touched on this with the Bethesda acquisition years ago, but what are your thoughts of? What are your feelings on this? What could be looked at potentially as an arms race between Sony and Microsoft, buying up all these publishers and studios.
Oh yeah, that's what I think exactly is probably what's going to happen. They're going to try and I mean they're going to be they're playing the monopoly board now, and now they're starting to buy up the properties to see if they can get. Like I said, it's about um, getting everybody on your platform and
Hmm.
having control of the platform rather than just pigeonholing people into this hardware that kind of may make money, may not make money. You have to iterate on it every couple of years, but no, if you have like the better platform, right, you have
Yeah.
the better services to go along with all of the games that you're playing regardless on where you're playing it. Yes, this does seem like some sort of an arms race, and they're gonna try and snag up all of these different studios to get their input. And my hope would be is that Sony really does treat them like an independent. I mean, they bought them, so they're not technically an independent anymore, right? I mean, I think
Yeah.
even though they say we are independent, but that could be in the same vein as how you know, uh, like Mojang is independent on Microsoft, or like Double Fine or something like that, right?
Or Blizzard was for a few years, right?
Or yeah, right.
How does this arms like? How do you feel about the arms race? Do you think it's a good thing for the industry for gamers?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, there's two ways that I think, or there's two, I guess, two opinions that I kind of have on it. It makes a lot of sense that they're trying to rope everybody in under their umbrella, and they're trying to buy up all these studios to, enhance that platform.
Hmm.
Although on the other hand, I don't like the idea of everybody's studio just kind of getting consolidated under just these mega umbrellas. It's almost like we're going back into a console war, depending on what
Yeah.
they do with the services. It's almost like we're going kind of back into that, where you had, um, I don't know, yeah, like when Bungie was making exclusively Xbox titles, and when I'm trying to think of another good like PlayStation studio, but
The good old
it's
days
the
of
same,
Sega versus
right?
Nintendo, right?
Kinda, right. And people is just like which console you want to make it for, but now it's more or less like who's going to be funding you money so that you can exist on
Hmm.
supposedly the better platform. I don't know. We have to see. We need something out of Sony to see what they're really offering besides to kind of compete with Game Pass, because ultimately that is going to be the biggest thorn in their side.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm very mixed because I think to an extent it helps studios a lot. We've talked about this. We've mentioned it a few times with Double Fine. Tim
Hmm.
Schafer was cutting content from that game because they
They
just
didn't
need to
have the
get it
money.
out. They were running out of runway, and then so you hear success stories and it's great for them, but like to an extent, like it's just like I saw so many articles since the Activision and now Bungie is people like, well, who can Microsoft buy next? Who can Sony buy next? I'm like we don't want them buying up, because then you're going to get it everything siloed, and then I like the independent studios, and they're going to kind of think and operate themselves and do what they want. Not that at least Microsoft has shown pretty well, and Sony as well. Like when they buy these studios, they don't really come in and say you're doing this. That was Microsoft of old, and I guess maybe the occasional studio. I think that was at Blue Point with Days Gone. I think Sony came in and was kind of telling them what to do, but like
Hmm.
having a wide variety of studios and publishers and working on different things and having their own visions and plans, I think is a good thing as well. So again, I see it helping some studios, but to an extent, I don't want everything to just fall under either the Sony or Microsoft umbrella.
Right. And I mean, it's the thing that kind of worries me a little bit about that is that, um, similar to how what ended up happening with Activision when Activision Blizzard became a thing. I mean, there's a pretty big marker as to when a lot of the Blizzard titles started going downhill after this. After Activision sunk more and more of its teeth into Blizzard until now Blizzard is unrecognizable.
Yep.
um, and a lot of their games just have not been hitting like Blizzard games should be hitting. So I think what is a little scary about all this is that it's really good until it's not good anymore. Meaning, like, say Phil Spencer steps down, and the
Yeah.
guy that replaces him is an absolute monster, and then everything beneath that just starts falling apart, right? Studios start losing their independence, but now they've been bought. Like, they've been full on bought. They can't just pull a
Hmm.
bungee and just pull the ripcord, get out of there, and be independent again. These studios are now ingrained underneath these umbrellas, which is kind of scary. So
Yeah.
once it starts going bad, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens once those chips start to fall. But
It's funny you mentioned that because I remember when we talked about the Activision acquisition 2 weeks ago. It was like with Phil in charge and his leadership team. Like, I have every faith that once the acquisition goes through, that they're gonna in a couple years. You're gonna only hear good things coming out of Activision again, right? They're gonna do a good job. But to your point, when Phil's going to step down at some point,
right.
right? And then who knows if the next guy up is going to be as good and and as nice and gamer focused, in the future. So
Right.
yeah.
So that's the general concern. And I mean, I don't my hope is that more studios kind of rise out, from being independent or being even like double A studios to kind of
Hmm.
rise out and kind of be their own thing and not get acquired, and maybe say no to a lot of the, because I mean, it's going to be hard to say no to that. It's a shit ton of money to get your
Yep.
studio bought up by a massive corporation like Microsoft or Sony. But at some point, yeah, I would like to just see, game studios kind of cropping up that are growing outside of those big buildings and kind of
Yep.
being their own thing. And that's what we're seeing with we're starting to see some of that, when the going gets bad. Again, going back to Activision Blizzard, when the going gets bad, that's when people start leaving. That's when the talent goes away and they
Hmm.
start forming their own studios. That, we have a little bit to talk about. Well, no, we don't. We're not talking about anything Frost Giant related, but
We've
like
talked about
we've
stuff
talked,
before,
but right.
all
That I
these
mean,
alumni that have been starting studios and creating
exactly.
games.
I mean, we were talking about it endlessly last year about how, oh, this person, from Blizzard has left and now they're starting a studio. And then Mike Morheim dips out and he's starting his own publisher. And,
Hmm.
that's my hope is yeah, I don't want to see it come to that. But at the same time, at least right now, Microsoft, maybe Sony buying up these studios is not a bad thing for now.
Hmm. Fun little idea I was thinking about. We could talk about this a little bit more. I'll leave it up to you. But after the Halo TV show trailer on Sunday,
Hmm. Hmm.
it got me thinking. Well, Sony makes movies.
Hmm.
Wonder
They
if we
just
could
made a
get.
pretty smash hit over Christmas.
Yeah, I
Was
wonder if
Spider-Man.
that was a good movie. Um, I was sitting there going, I was like, I wonder if Bungie wants to branch out and do things that aren't just gaming. Could we get
Oh,
a Destiny
movie,
movie,
TV
TV
show.
show? So that could be interesting and exciting.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much you want to talk about the Halo trailer. I mean, yeah, we did get the Halo trailer on what, Sunday?
Yep.
Yes. Well, I hope if there is a Destiny TV show, it doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say about that. I think we don't have to go too deep in the rabbit hole, but it looks
Yeah.
really weird.
It yeah, without going in too much, it felt very high budget and low budget at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It felt very like this could be a good sci-fi show, or this looks like it belongs on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Well, that's what I thought was weird because, like, a lot of the stuff, like the armor and some of the guns, looked like really plastic. Like
Yeah,
they looked like really cheap plastic, like they were handling toys.
yeah. Not to mention the Chevy Tahoe,
Yeah, the Chevy Tahoe in the
the
background
AK,
and
an
the
AK
AK-47s.
47. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, we'll save that till we either watch the show or see a little bit more on it. I got my hopes up for it.
maybe we should do just like a viewing party
Yeah,
of the
on
Halo TV series when that
on
comes
Twitch
out.
or something.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just have we get all the Campfire crew in and do a viewing party on Discord or something.
Hmm. Um, moving on here, but kind of in the same vein, we're going to kind of go through a little bit of an update here on some stuff, some more news that kind of came out after the big bomb drop of the Microsoft acquiring Activision the other week. So,
Hmm.
kind of some other little stuff here. Found a little interesting that after during some interviews after the initial announcement, Bobby Kotick kind of hinted that it sounded it kind of made it sound like he was shopping Activision around a little bit, right? And that EA almost purchased Activision, which was kind of a surprise, and that would have been an interesting joining of forces there.
Yeah, I think all that hope that we're feeling now would have gone way out the window if that were the case.
Yeah,
I mean, if there's, if there's a company that I think Blizzard would go to die, EA is notoriously good at murdering studios.
yeah. So it was like two publishers that haven't been great the last 10, 20 years joining forces. Yeah, it would have been interesting to watch EA just slowly convert all of their studios over to be Call of Duty support teams.
Right. Oh
um,
man. Yeah, there's
we
a
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, there's I can't find the picture, but there's a picture that I love going back to where it's like a stick figure standing over like a cliff, and behind the stick figure is another stick figure with a gun to his head, and it says EA on the dude's head. And then like in the pit, there's like a pile of bodies that says like Vivendi and Maxis and
Yeah,
like all the studios that have been killed or something, and then like the gun is pointing at like BioWare's head or something like that.
you could easily do that about Microsoft 10 years ago. Man,
That's
all the
true.
all the good
Microsoft
studios
was
they murdered,
Yep.
Lionhead
Microsoft
and Ensemble Studios, to name a few.
Yep. But
Yeah,
yeah, that would have been a very, very different. I don't think people would have had such a strong reaction to that. They'd probably be like, "Yeah, go figure." Like, yeah, all right. We're not expecting much out of that.
yeah. Two shitty publishers joining forces. So
Right. I mean, considering, what Mass Effect hasn't been hitting lately. Battlefield just took a massive dookie.
hmm got a little bit to chat about that later, but
Yes, we do. Or do we?
yeah, we don't have to. But
Oh, we do. Yeah.
um,
Battlefield's getting an update.
yeah, uh, yeah. So as far as we were just talking about how Bungie, uh, they're essentially going to be still releasing on whatever they feel like releasing on. Um, we got a little bit, and I'm sure this is probably the biggest thing a lot of people or PlayStation fans were worried about is what's going to happen to Call of Duty on PlayStation.
Hmm.
Um, and it sounds like Phil Spencer and Jim Ryan um, had a good little talk, and it sounds like at least the next three Call of Duties are going to find their way onto PlayStation. So
Right.
I'm sure there's still a lot. Again, this kind of goes into what we were talking about 2 weeks ago. This acquisition is probably not going to finish till sometime next year if it goes through.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff that probably is not going to be set in stone until shortly after that is finished at some point next year. Again, we saw that with the Bethesda or the ZeniMax acquisition.
Yep. That
So,
was what I was going to go to as well. Is that we talked about this 2 weeks ago, in that the big question mark at the time was what was going to happen with Call of Duty, and we mentioned it. That they're probably going to do the exact same thing that they were going to do with ZeniMax, and that was, we're going to honor any of the games that were slated for the PlayStation to be released on PlayStation. We're just going to honor that, and
mhm.
then if there's like some crazy new game coming out of Sledgehammer or Raven or whatever, then that's probably going to be an Xbox or Microsoft platform exclusive.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, yeah. Again, I think I don't know. Maybe the Destiny Bungie news, maybe that'll kind of sway Phil and Xbox's kind of thoughts here. But
They're
like,
gonna trade it like trading cards.
they're gonna be
Like
like, well,
I'll give
Call
you
of
two
Duty,
Destinies if you give me 2.5 Call of Duties.
yeah. Come on, one Destiny is worth like 5 Call of Duties because we release one every year. You haven't released a
Mhm.
Destiny since 20, what was it, 16? But yeah, so it'll be interesting to kind of see how that works. And who knows, maybe it'll go like we're talking about the theory of Destiny going on to whatever PlayStation Game Pass is going to be. Um, Maybe it's
Right.
just Call of Duty is going to go on Game Pass, and kind of one of those things. Well, on Game Pass, Call of Duty's free. On PlayStation Pass, it's you know Destiny's free.
Cost money
So
or something like that, or I mean, maybe they just, when you do play on either of these platforms, some of it just gets kicked back to, again, I don't really know exactly how the Game Pass model works, how, up the chain that they get their money, like how a studio gets their money from Game Pass. But I could imagine that they work out some kind of a deal where, yeah, like some Sony games might end up on Game Pass and vice versa. And they would
mhm,
probably work that deal out because we've mentioned it before that that Phil Spencer has kind of made it somewhat of a personal mission to try and expand platforms and things like that, and not have people just be, if you play on this platform, you get these games. It's
mhm.
kind of, let's get everybody gaming, but we'll see if they actually hold true to that.
Yeah, definitely. Sticking with Call of Duty here, though, I guess again, all early talks right now, but there's been, according to Jason Schreier, there's been some high level talks with the people that lead a lot of the Call of Duty franchise on potentially moving away from yearly releases. I think this could benefit in a couple different ways if they did this. As Schreier mentioned, this would help the franchise in general, because I think it's just getting oversaturated and people just don't get as excited every year for it.
No.
Um, but I think the other good thing that could come out of it, assuming the Microsoft acquisition goes through, it could. I made a joke of this earlier, but maybe a lot of those support studios that Activision has thrown on to Call of Duty could go back to making good games, right? Instead of just being, okay, the main ones with Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer and Treyarch, and then all the other studios helping them. Those studios could still either potentially continue to make Call of Duty games themselves, their own installments, or maybe one or two of those studios, along with the support studios, could go back to making
Whatever they wanted, right?
whatever they want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and there's
But
plenty of franchises they could dig into.
right. I mean, yeah, if they were able to actually get their hands on some of the Star Wars franchises, I mean, Jedi Knight games were pretty good.
Yeah, Ravensoft did that.
They did.
It's been
Yep.
years, but I love Jedi. Was it Jedi Knight 2?
Jedi Academy and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, being that that was a more third person adventure game, I mean, those games were awesome. And I would love to see Raven be able to make something different other than Call of Duty.
Hmm.
Let them work some magic, I want to
Yeah,
see something fun and fresh and new, and I want to see what all these other studios can do when they're not just anchored to Call of Duty.
exactly. And again, again, as somebody who doesn't play Call of Duty anymore, I imagine it would benefit from at least every other year coming out,
Sure.
right? Instead of every year, because again, I think you're just burning people out.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's just getting exhausting. Well, not only that, but I mean, like when you have something as like something to keep people busy, like something like Warzone, where people just sink all their time into Warzone, and that's
Hmm.
like, they don't necessarily need to have a Call of Duty iteration every year, because that
Correct.
just means like another Warzone, another, like it doesn't do enough to be different if that's what a lot of the people are just going to be doing. Now, granted, yeah, I know that a lot of people really like the multiplayer, especially at a competitive level too, beyond just Warzone. Um, but yeah, I don't think, if you're gonna put a lot of effort into something like even the campaigns, which are okay, like some like the Modern Warfare one was okay. I didn't play the
Vanguard,
Vanguard
the new one.
one. No, I didn't play the new Vanguard one, but um it would be nice to see them kind of take that even a step further, see what they can do when they're not kind of restricted to just, okay, we need to crank out a pretty bare bones Call of Duty game every year.
Yeah. Yep. As far as old franchises too, I know Phil apparently has been talking with some of the studios on potentially bringing back some of the old franchises, and Microsoft is getting quite the list of IPs in this acquisition. We're not
Mhm.
going to go down a lot of them here, but you got your Guitar Heroes, your DJ Heroes, Crash Bandicoots, Skylanders, Spyro. So um, there's definitely plenty of room here for some of those studios to you know build on previous franchises or potentially make brand new stuff. So I personally hope that they they pull off just who did they just put on Diablo that did the Tony Hawk
Oh,
remaster?
oh,
uh
Vicarious?
Vicarious. I completely blanked on him there for a second. I hope they bring Vicarious back to working on Tony Hawk, because I'd love to see a remastered 3 and 4, because they did such a great job with the 1 and 2 remaster. So
Don't lie to me, you wanna see another Soldier of Fortune game.
there's a lot of games I want to see,
Triple Helix.
but the nice thing though with the power, or not the power, the money of Microsoft is, I know in another interview after the fact, Bobby was talking about uh, kind of some of the franchises they kind of had to move away from due to various reasons that he'd like to see come back with Microsoft, and two of those ones required a good deal of hardware, which Bobby
Yeah.
voiced the fact that they didn't have the time or money to invest into developing, manufacturing, and testing their own hardware, which was a big reason they moved away from Guitar Hero franchise and the Skylanders franchise. So I know those are two series I've played in the past. I thought Skylanders was actually pretty unique and fun. I do have some little Skylanders somewhere, some little figures myself.
But man,
Um,
I desperately miss Guitar Hero. Like, I went hard at Guitar Hero for a while.
yeah,
I love that game.
it was definitely a plenty of fun drunk nights playing that game.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably not doing good.
That and Rock Band?
Yep,
Oh, man.
yep. Sitting on the drums, you're like, I'm so good, and you're probably doing
Yep.
awesome. But um, so yeah, those are some franchises Bobby'd like to see come back. Now, I think a lot of gamers share in that feeling, though. So who knows? We'll
Mhm.
see. Again, I think this between the acquisition and then kind of getting things in order, it's going to be a couple years before we kind of see the fruits of Phil's and Microsoft's labor here.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I do hope that they do bring back some of those. Oh, man, a new Hexen, that actually could be kinda cool. I forgot that they owned Hexen.
What I'd like to see is a new World of Warcraft RTS, a new Tony Hawk. A
You mean a
remaster would be
Warcraft
nice.
RTS? World of Warcraft
Oh
is
yeah,
the
sorry, yeah,
MMO.
Warcraft. I was just reading the list here. My brain just read World. Yeah, um, but yeah, no, I'd love to see. Yeah, Guitar Hero, that'd be fun.
Mhm.
DJ Hero was pretty interesting. You ever
I
play that?
play Yeah, I did have it actually. It was weird.
It was very weird. I remember at the time I worked at Best Buy. It had been a year or two since DJ Hero had come out, and in the back of Best Buy, they just went on like we had like two or three of them left, along with like a case that could be turned into a table that you could play it on. It was pretty cool. But it like went on sale for like super cheap, and I was like, okay, I bought it, and had my fun with it. It really pissed me off because they did their I hate when companies do or studios do this with their games. They do the odd numbered achievements. Oh, this one's 8, this one's 3, this one's 6, this one's 9, right? So I remember like my gamer score was off weird, and I'm not usually picky about my gamer score, but it bugged me that it ended in like a 2 or something like that. So I went and looked. I was like, "Oh, it was DJ Hero that messed me up."
Mhm.
And I went back and I forget. I chased down one of the achievements so I'd get back to a good even 5 or 0 score.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think that, DJ Hero was kind of fun, but it definitely wasn't nearly as fun as, like, Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero
No,
was
yeah,
really, really fun.
yeah.
Um, oh, man, I'm kind of, like, perusing this list a little bit. Blur was kinda cool. I have that on Steam, I think. Um, Empire Earth, I have not played that in a long time, but I still have the disc sitting underneath me right now.
Hmm.
Um Yeah, Hearthstone Heroes of the Storm, of course. Lost Vikings, that's kind of funny. Just I don't know. Yeah, I mean Spyro. We just saw some Spyro stuff not too long ago. Crash Bandicoot stuff. Saw that, which I thought it was funny that Crash Bandicoot is going from he's made the full trek from PlayStation all the way over to
Microsoft.
Microsoft.
He just likes traveling.
He's a busy guy. Yeah. Is
Cool.
there anything else that you want to cover with the Microsoft acquisition? I mean, I think we covered it in pretty good detail a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah. No, that was it. I was actually just going to ask you the same question. I think
cool.
I'm all good until some more juicy news comes out.
Yeah,
But
and I think that's the gist of what we got for the big news for you all
yeah,
today.
the big acquisitions and the updates to
Yep,
acquisitions. So,
everybody's buying up the monopoly properties, putting
but
hotels on them and everything.
yeah, but we're not finished. We got plenty of other good little tidbits to
Time
talk
for the
about here.
time for the quick segment.
We're going to start off with the sad stuff first.
Okay.
Potentially, sorry, I should say potentially sad stuff first.
Yeah.
If you were a fan of the I can't talk, Ubisoft Battle Royale Hyperscape, you better get on and play it a lot because it is shutting down April 28th. That's this year, not next year. It's this year. So
F's in the chat.
yeah, it was just, and we kind of, I think, saw this a few months after it came out because I remember we covered this once or twice. It hit big for I think the first month or two because it was new, it was fresh, and like getting the crown or whatever it was at the end was kind of like, it wasn't, you could either win by eliminating everybody if I remember, or getting the crown, once that appeared in the last like minute or two of the game or something
Something
like
like
that.
that. Yeah.
So I think it was kind of pretty big to start with because it was kind of new, it was fresh, but it really died off hard. And I'm guessing with the other multiplayer games that Ubisoft will be putting out in the next year, that they're putting their resources elsewhere. So,
Right. So that April 28th is when that goes down.
and the last bit of sad news, potentially, I honestly never played this mode, but in Sea of Thieves, the PvP arena will be shutting down March 10th of this year as well. Uh, did you ever play this? I know we've kind of been on and
No.
off as a group playing Sea of Thieves, but I think it was always just the PvE stuff, which I mean had you fighting people, but this was a specific mode for ships to battle each other.
Yeah. No. I've actually never played that mode. Every time that I've played this with friends, we usually just mess around, and that's one of
Yeah,
those. Yeah. Like, oh, it's Friday night. It's a drinking game.
yeah. But this was another one of those kind of like tough decisions as they're trying to move the game forward and continue to support it. Apparently, only about 2% of the player base actually played this mode, even though
Whew.
it sounded like that 2% were pretty hardcore.
Oh,
So
I'm sure.
if you're listening and you were one of the more hardcore people that played this, go check out their site. They have if you reach certain Sea Dog ranks before certain dates, you can grab a couple collectibles and cosmetics to wear, to show off that you were there
That you were
during the
poop
arena
socking
era.
the
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves PvP.
Yep. Yep. So go check that out, or go try it out if you've never tried it out before. You've got about a month, about a month to try that out. So, but all right, now on to greener pastures. Well, kinda, I guess. Jumping into this is more interesting, I guess. But talking about a subject we'll be talking about a lot this year:
Yep.
NFTs.
Yep. We got NFTs.
So GDC surveyed about 2,700 game developers, and the first set was, or one of the questions was asking how interested they are in using cryptocurrency as a payment in games. And there was about 72% of them were not interested. And about 20% were somewhat interested. So yeah, not looking good, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Take polls with a grain of salt, but
yeah,
I mean, there are a lot of game developers at GDC. I've been there. There's a lot. And of those, yeah, I'm sure the sentiment is pretty common across a lot of game developers that they just don't care about cryptocurrency and NFTs in their games that a
Yep.
lot of them just don't. I mean, I'd be happy to be proven wrong. Come to our Discord, tweet at us, tell me why I'm wrong. But my guess would be is that it's not interesting enough to be something to get excited to put into your game.
Yep. And in similar vein, they asked, and you kind of mentioned this already, is who was interested in NFTs, and 70% of them said they were not interested, whereas 28% said they were somewhat interested. But to your point, I think the whole cryptocurrency and NFT stuff just goes back to what we've talked about before. Is I think a lot of developers realize they don't currently. There's not a good use case for them. There's no reason to have them that isn't something that has already been solved with the current systems we have.
Correct. Yeah. And
So,
a lot of people can see that it's a tool that can definitely be used to be exploited
yep.
for really bad reasons.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But yeah, so let's see what happens there. On to our very small rumor section. So, oh shoot, did I write his name down? Yeah, comes from, okay, I don't even know how to say this. Special. There you go. Special Nick over at Xbox Era Podcast mentioned that Microsoft has in the works another. I'm gonna just for a good reference, another Master Chief collection in the works, but not for Halo, for another one of their franchises. The two that come to mind for me is Fable and Gears of War, which honestly I'm kind of leaning this is probably a Gears of War
Yeah, that would make
collection.
sense. Yeah. And I mean the Master Chief collection has been hugely successful now that it's been, worked on,
Functional.
and ever since the release not so good, but lately, ever since it came to PC, like it's
Yeah.
been very very successful. The modding community has been going hard at making the game just insanely fun, and it's got a pretty healthy player base too, so
Yeah. So as long as they don't, release a crappy collection and then spend the next 5-6 years fixing it, I'm excited for this.
but
I
it's
guess they're
rumored.
good. Yeah, this is rumor, but if it's a Gears, I'll be excited to see what they do to kind of clean it up. They already did a Gears of War 1 anniversary, so it'll be interesting to see if they do anything with 2 and 3. Assuming they do that. If it's something like Fable, which could be a way for them to get people excited and back into the Fable games before is it Playground Games that's doing a new one in a year or two, whenever that comes out. That could be exciting as well, because those were all great games, and it'd be fun to play through those if they're remastered or remade in any sort of way. But or who knows? I mean, it could be Voodoo Vince or Blink's Time Sweeping Cat, or whatever it was collection. You never know.
You never know.
I think Voodoo Vince only ever had one game, anyways. Blink's had two, so
I think if Chris were here, he would want like the Crimson Skies collection of one game.
well, there was more than one, but there was only ever one on the Xbox. I don't know if Microsoft had a hand in the previous PC games
Yeah, I don't
or
know.
not. I'd have to look that up, but yep. In some unhappy news, at least for EA, Battlefield 2042 isn't doing so good.
No.
So the rumors are flying, since the EA top people are not happy, is that potentially the game could go free to play. But this is, again, take this with a grain of salt. But the reason I put this in here is because I think that's kind of interesting.
That wouldn't be surprising.
It wouldn't, but it's just, I kind of laughed when I first started reading this. Like, EA was not happy with how Battlefield 2042 was going, when clearly it was their fault.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I don't. Yeah. Like, congratulations, you're not happy. We're not happy, which is probably why they're not happy. I mean, make a good game, we'll be happy, and you'll be happy. That's how that's how this sort of exchange works, is that when you make games that are functional and that are good, we will buy them. You become happy because you get another Chevy Tahoe from the future or something.
Yeah. That's like, I was just like, so you ruined the game and you're mad that the game
That the
isn't
game
doing
is
well.
ruined and it's not doing well. Yeah, big shocker there, Thanks.
So,
No, yeah.
but it would be it would not surprise me. Again, the rumors are going around. Tom Henderson thinks that it might just be one mode that goes free to play. It could be the whole game. We don't know. Obviously, we'll report on it when there's some concrete news. But I think at this point, if it goes free to play, it could help. I haven't played the game yet, at least not since the beta in October. But unless it's in a decent shape and a funnish state, I don't know if this will help it because people will be like, "Oh, it's free to play. Let me download it," and they play for a week and go, "This shit's broken," and then
Yep,
they
it's
leave
still
anyways.
broken. Mhm.
Yeah.
No,
Um,
I mean, they did the same thing with Anthem, right? I mean,
yeah.
Anthem bombed hardcore because nobody thought the game was actually any fun. And then next thing you know, the game goes free to play, and that didn't help it. It's still not that fun. So
Yeah. I mean, they kind of put their own nail in the coffin there with Anthem when they basically took everybody off it to make whatever next.
that's a good
Um,
legacy burn.
because that was
That was one of our first games that we shit on
yeah,
constantly.
yeah. Because they only put like I think it was like only like a small team of like 20 people on the like let's fix it up and get it working, and then they
Yeah,
wonder.
yeah.
And all props to those developers. From what I read, the game did get better, but it was one of those fundamentally there was a lot of stuff broken, and
Mhm.
that's where when we last kind of really reported on it, when they officially canceled Anthem, was that EA didn't. They had this I think roadmap and this kind of this is what we need to do to get this fun. And that's when EA was like, well, we don't want to put the resources and time and money into it. You know, you're done. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's I guess the big advantage that Battlefield 2042 has over something like Anthem is that the groundwork actually is not that bad. Like
mhm,
the game is just really busted on like a, functional level, but I think in a general design sense, it's pretty good, especially when you have something like Portal, when you can tailor make the game to be kind of what you want it to be, and they can take ideas from Portal and bring that over to, the actual like whatever modes that they decide to add in later down the
mhm.
line.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, uh, they also have a actual team that they're not going to cut and get rid of behind them. Dice, right? You know, they're not going to.
Mhm.
They probably have the whole team working on this still, not just 20 people or whatever. So
Right.
that they got that there, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Mhm.
Maybe I'll actually give it a try if it goes free to play.
Right.
But in some good Blizzard news, a new game from a new franchise or new IP
Yeah, it's a new
is
IP.
announced.
Yep. Although they didn't really announce anything, so they haven't really announced it officially. Um, Basically, all that they know is that where they are building a survival game. So something in my guess would be something in the vein of like maybe a Rust or like a Grounded or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that kind of a game. But this is going to be a brand new IP, meaning that this isn't going to be taking place in Overwatch or the Diablo universe or anything like that. This is brand new. The only reason that this was even brought to attention is that yeah, they're hiring more people specifically calling out building things for the survival game genre.
Mhm.
What we could see out of that? Good question. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, as soon as we know more, we'll let you know,
Yes, exactly.
dear listener. But on the backs of that little announcement, Mike Ybarra also mentioned that in the next or in the coming weeks that there will be some updates on Diablo, Overwatch, and Warcraft. So I'm guessing D4, Overwatch 2, and what's Warcraft doing? Maybe he
Right.
meant Warcraft by like the RTS, the
Probably not.
Reforged.
Yeah, there never seems to be any interest in making a new actual Warcraft game, which is sad, but I mean that's kind of where StarCraft is going to. It's going to be another 10 years before we get a well, I mean, it has actually been about 10 years since we've had the last StarCraft game, not the expansion, but the game itself.
Mhm.
So, who knows?
You're gonna. I completely forgot. Got busy today. I was gonna go memorize that Bill Murray from what was it, Caddyshack, Cats and Dogs Living Together kind of line here.
Oh, that was Ghostbusters.
Or Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mass
Ghostbusters. That's
hysteria.
there you go. I
Yeah.
was gonna memorize that and try to quote it here because what's going on in Warcraft? It sounds like Horde and Alliance are becoming friends now. They're becoming best bros.
Oh yeah. Okay. So to get into the just to get right to it, they talked. I believe Ian Hazacostas did an interview. They had some announcements to make about some future patches for World of Warcraft, retail. Wow. Talking about having cross faction grouping, cross faction raids, guilds, the whole shebang. Basically, just kind of blurring the lines kind of further between Horde and Alliance, where they're really you don't have any boundaries really anymore. Um, this was just announced, I think, just yesterday when they were, or maybe like 2 days ago or something. No, it was yes. Well, yesterday being Monday. I
Yes,
forget this
yes, it
comes
was
out.
Monday.
I keep forgetting this comes out on Saturday. But yeah, so they're looking at doing cross faction instances, things like that. Um, yeah, I mean that's about the size of it. So if you got a human paladin friend and you're a troll warrior and you want to play together, you can. I mean, I can see this from like a functional point of view, and I guess what a lot of people have pointed out to me, that from a story perspective, like a lore perspective, it makes sense in this regard. Mainly because, yeah, like there's been a lot of times in the Warcraft story where, like, the Horde and Alliance are fighting, fighting, fighting. Big existential threat comes. Oh no, we have to, group, and we have to align
Mhm.
ourselves and work together to fight this thing. Okay, let's go back to warring each other again. Like they've done this for a long, long time, and I'm sure that they've just been, one of the things that I think Ian was talking about is that, like, they're now getting to the point now, tech wise, that they can actually make this happen because this whole faction thing was so deeply ingrained into the code, and so it's pretty foundational to Warcraft in general, right? Like, orcs and humans have always been battling each other ever since the 90s. So,
Yeah,
um, personally, like if you were to ask me personally how I felt about it, I'm not a big fan. Mainly because I think there's just some things that are so deeply rooted into a game's identity that there's some
yeah.
things that probably shouldn't be changed.
That's
It's like all of a sudden Master Chief starts taking off his helmet and now you just see his face all the time, and it's just like that kind of ruins the fun,
or the
right? Like,
Mandalorian,
right, yeah, and the Mandalorian. But I know,
or
but
or
like,
humans start helping the Covenant.
right, exactly.
But no, no. I mean, to your point, like I think one of the early episodes we ever did was me trying vanilla, and I had fun. But that was my experience with WoW throughout all the years, right?
Hmm.
But even me, I know I wouldn't say I'm Horde or Alliance because I haven't played enough to really get ingrained in that eternal battle. But like every WoW person I know is your Horde or your Alliance, right? You
Right.
know, and like
It's yeah, it's like it's beyond just like the game's identity. It's kind of like a WoW cultural sort of an identity thing. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be actually like really for this because, like I said, functionally it makes sense.
yeah,
Story wise, it makes sense. When you have a game like Final Fantasy 14 that's crushing WoW's numbers right now, they have to do something to make this game as, nicely accessible to as many people as possible. And I guess one of those things would be breaking down the barriers between who you can and cannot play with. So now you have
hmm
cross faction, cross server, cross everything. You can play with pretty much anyone that you want at any time that you want. So that
yeah,
makes sense. Do I like it? No. No, I don't like it. But what does my opinion matter?
yep. I like the what is it I like the quote they had in the article here about like when you starting to party up when you're outdoor like in the open world
Hmm.
it's still alliance versus horde so you guys could in
Right.
theory still fight each other but as soon as you enter the instance for whatever it is you're doing dungeon raid whatever like all of a sudden you guys are friends so it's like oh it's, you're still kind of feeding into that so you're going to still have those like
Yeah, it doesn't
two
make a lot of
two
sense.
friends that are finally playing together but they're one's horde one's alliance they're going to just be sitting outside beating each other up but
Right. They're going to get goon squatted by both sides of their factions.
but yeah no it's Yeah, it was weird.
It'll be interesting from going forward, like, what they decide. My guess is that, yeah, they probably have some big plans for the next expansion or something like that to leverage a lot of that.
Hmm.
We'll see.
Yep.
Next thing you know, yeah, Taurans are riding griffins now, and, you know, humans are riding on raptors. It's, yeah, mass hysteria.
Yep. And I meant Ghostbusters, not Caddyshack. So,
Yes, yeah, it was a Ghostbusters line.
um, anyways, got on to another wonderful series of movies, but a game that they're making based off of movies, Star Wars. This has been in the works for quite a while, and I think has been delayed quite a bit. But the Lego Star Wars Skywalker saga finally got a release date that I think I wrote. Oh, I did write down. Good thing I can read. April 5th. It's coming to PC, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. Uh, it's been forever since I've played a Lego game. They were fun when I played it, but this game looks pretty sick because it covers all 9 movies, and
It's a lot.
you can start at the start of any of the trilogies. So what was it? Phantom Menace, A New Hope, or why did I just blank on the new trilogy? Force Awakens, right? So
Right.
you could kind of start essentially anywhere in the sagas there, and then play through the movies in those trilogies. But watching through this, they have like a 6-minute gameplay overview video you can watch, and it sounds like they're just adding a bunch of crazy stuff, like about combo chaining with your attacks, counter attacks. Apparently, you can kind of, I put ADS, but it's more kind of over the shoulder, but you can do a little bit more with aiming, kind of over the shoulder now
Oh,
with the
interesting.
blasters. They have a cover system in there, and I guess some unique lightsaber and force powers and stuff. So like they're really kind of like
So
making this
it's the
ultimate.
ultimate Lego Star Wars game.
Yeah,
That's
but
pretty cool.
what really got me was they were talking about, I guess there's side missions in here, and also this sounds new to me. I apologize if you're a big Lego video game fan, and this is all just kind of old news or just putting it together, but this seems new and exciting to me. But side missions, apparently the two they kind of talked about was being able to shoot womp rats.
Nice.
um, and I don't know how this is going to play out, but you'll be able to, like, was it whoever you as a player character were like talking to some stormtroopers that were investigating who shot first between Han and Greedo. They're like, it's just like, oh god. So, it sounds goofy and fun. I don't know if I'll pick it up because there's just so many games out there, but it looks fantastic.
That looks pretty good. I mean, honestly, I've never really played a Lego Star Wars game. I haven't really played any of the Lego games, but I've heard nothing but good things about them. Like, I haven't
Yeah,
heard of, like, there hasn't really been a horribly bad Lego game that has, shaken up the news or anything like that. So,
yeah. I think I played some Indiana Jones. I played some of the early Star Wars ones. I remember going through the early levels in Phantom Menace. When you come into the Trade Federation, and that's when
oh,
Obi-Wan,
sure, sure.
Qui-Gon kind of get off.
Right,
Um, but yeah, they were always fun. Never really like sat down and played through a lot of them or anything though.
right.
So
So we got, yeah, lots of Star Wars game news coming out, don't we? So we got,
yes,
you want to
go
go
ahead.
dive into this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we got multiple new Star Wars games that are in the works. So, kind of going back all the way to when we started this episode, there's a new Star Wars Jedi game in the works. Don't know what that means. Could be like an Old Republic thing, could be like a Jedi Academy thing. Don't
Hmm.
really know. We don't know much about it. I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot, but EA has announced that they are working on more Star Wars titles. Hopefully, they all don't get canceled. That would be my hope. But what
Right.
do what I don't know what's going to happen.
Poor ragtag.
Right. But yeah, there's going to be a new first person shooter in the Star Wars universe. Um, little speculation on maybe it's like a Republic Commando thing, though I don't know if that was popular enough
That
to
was
make it.
that was my
Yeah,
speculation, by the way. So,
yeah, that
but
was your speculation that it was going to be Republic
maybe
Commando.
maybe a new one, but
Yeah, maybe. I
I
mean,
think it was always kind of like a
supposedly
cult
they're
classic.
right. I think supposedly they're done with they're scrap. I think there was just news that they were scrapping Battlefront 3, that they were doing away with Battlefront 3.
Yeah,
I think
it
I
was they
you have to
weren't. Yeah, they weren't
fact
going to
check me on
do
that one.
one.
Yeah.
because it would have cost too much, and the amount of money they would have to spend to get it up and running or whatever, and how much they'd make, it was wouldn't even out. But again,
Right.
they've shit the bed on the last two Battlefronts, so I mean it's their own fault. Like,
Right,
right?
exactly. And then of course, and then there's supposedly a new strategy game in the works. That could be kind of neat. Something similar to like Empire at War or something like that would be kind of neat. It doesn't specify what kind of a strategy game, so it could be turn based. It could be RTS. Who knows? 4X,
Oh,
4X Star Wars game would be kind of cool. Those are getting kind of popular.
who was I look up there, Galactic Battlegrounds. Now that was a Ensemble Studios one, but
Yep.
I'd go for another Age of Empire style.
Right. Yeah. We don't know exactly what kind of strategy game that would be, and then um, so apparently all of this is actually being developed by Respawn.
Yep. Well, the RTS in development with a company Bit Reactor. I tried looking them up. I didn't see much from them,
Sure.
but yeah, no. This is I thought this was exciting news. Again, to your point, if they don't cancel it,
Right.
because this is Respawn, and they've proven to do really well.
Jedi Fallen
And
Order, yeah,
yeah,
was
and,
massively successful.
and in general, I mean, this is exciting news in general for Star Wars fans because we got all these games coming. We got a couple Ubisoft games coming. We got that Quantic Dreams game coming, and so we'll have to see if the quality is any good. But hopefully, we're getting back to an era where we're getting Star Wars games again
Right.
instead of
Well,
not
that's
getting Star Wars games.
exactly. Well, that was one of the things that I was whining about, like 100 or so episodes ago, is that it just sucks that EA has been kind of bogarting all of the Star Wars stuff and not letting
Hmm.
anybody else do anything. I mean, when we had a lot of like the great Star Wars games, is when it was kind of Ravensoft was able to do it. You had Lucas Arts was able to do it. Rest in peace. But well, that's that's what it's got to be. We got to get a
Yeah,
lot of people in on this because there's a lot of people got a lot of good Star Wars ideas. Speaking of good Star Wars ideas, to wrap up this episode, nice segue here. I just wanted to end the episode on something kind of cool, at least something that I personally think is kind of cool.
I think
Um,
it's exciting.
yeah, so Star Wars Galaxies, an MMO that I hold near and dear to my heart, which unfortunately has been dead for the last like 11 years, is now getting a bit of a revival, which is kind of cool. There are, of course, numerous private servers and things like that. Like when an MMO dies, a lot of the community will usually try and pick up the pieces, make emulated servers. And, this is something that has led basically to WoW creating a classic server, was a bunch of private servers existing and being super popular. Well, Star Wars Galaxies, private server in particular called Star Wars Galaxies Revival, I believe is what it is called, um, has been making waves. They've seen about 11,000 or so. 11,000 or so accounts with 12,000 characters. This is all since it released last year in May.
Hmm.
So hasn't been up that long, but they're talking about, or it's called Restoration. Star Wars Galaxies Restoration 3 is what it is officially called. So swgr.org if you want to go check it out. Looks really cool. They got, it looks like they have kind of like a roadmap of what events that they're going to be, doing. They're talking about bringing in a lot of the events from, if you're from Star Wars Galaxies, you know what this is, from like the combat upgrade era, the NGE era, that sort of stuff, but without the NGE itself. So they're bringing in like the Restus and those sorts of events. They're bringing all that in, and they have their own sort of progression or roadmap that they're going to be going down to create their own content. That's kind of their big the big push that they're trying to make with the servers, that they want to start making their own unique content for Star Wars Galaxies, which I'm actually really, really hyped about. So I think I personally am going to go check this out because I think this is kind of cool. Shout out to my boy Mike. If I know you're probably not listening, but if you are, um, we need to get some Star Wars Galaxies going like we used to. So
Yeah,
that's all I
it
got on that.
sounds exciting. That was always one of those games that I wanted to get into. I was always scared to get into an MMO. When did that come out? I might have. I
2003.
was
That
gonna
was
say
when it
I didn't.
originally launched. Was
Was
2003.
was that on broadband or dial up, or could you do both? I feel like it
Both.
was only
You
okay.
you had both. So
Maybe I just didn't have a good computer or good internet or something at the time. I felt there was something that kind of stopped me technically from playing it. But
it was
no,
released
it's
June of 2003.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would have unfortunately still had dial up then, so and
I
probably not a
mean,
great computer for gaming.
just
So
from what I know, now, I mean, like, yeah, you can the thing that they add, they had stuff where you could fly in like X-wings and YT-1300s, and they mentioned it in I think an episode of Boba Fett just recently about his KSE fire spray, which is you can fly in those, and you can join the GCW, and that's where you kind of do that sort of World of Warcraft style PvP where you have the rebels and the Empire, and you can PvP in open world and all that sort of. It was such a fantastic game that was unfortunately ruined by basically trying to make when WoW released, it pushed them to make a lot of design decisions to try and be WoW, to try and
mhm.
pull that audience away. But that's a story for another time.
Sounds like a good topic for a future episode.
I think
So
so.
well, I think that about does it for us. Do you have anything else you want to chat about, Rich?
I do not. It was a good
No.
episode, Matt.
Yeah.
Always
No,
pleasure talking with you.
yeah, it was a fun time. A lot of good stuff to cover. Um, again, check us out at our website, campfiregamingpodcast.com, where you can find links to our Discords and our socials. Again, we like pushing our Discord, not because we're lonely or begging you, but we really do enjoy talking to you. We have a good time in our Discord. So please join. We have a lot of fun. We love talking with you. But on that note, we will see you next time around the campfire.